Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to my channel, Unchained Faith, where we talk about everything that will help us build our faith in Jesus Christ. Um, Today, we have a very important topic that we want to actually finish up talking about. And I have my lovely friend and my guest once again, Miss Sophia Romaine.
Hello, hello, everyone. Nice
Oh,
to be here again.
girl, you look beautiful.
Thank you.
I
And you
love it.
always look so radiant yourself.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I mean, I love to see us beautiful sisters. We're just doing it. We're just doing it, just doing it, just doing it. And
Mhm.
it just makes me happy. So I am happy once again to be with you tonight. And so we can just kind of continue our conversation. Um, oh gosh, it's been so much, right? It's been
A
so
lot.
so much been going on too. So much
Mhm.
been going on, and I know that tonight is going to be very interesting topic that we're going to be talking about. But we are going to continue just talking about relationships and different abuse that occurs in marriages and relationships, and it sometimes I think we're also going to go back when it comes to as well childhood abuse, because
Mhm.
as if you have not, if you're watching us today and you have not watched Miss Sophia Romaine's first interview where she just kind of talked a little bit about her childhood abuse, I encourage you to please watch that. And if you are someone that maybe is experiencing or has experienced and you would like a platform to kind of share your story, please feel free to reach out to me. Reach out to me, Unchained Faith on Instagram. You can reach out to me on, you can also uh, write me in my inbox and just let me know who you are and what you want to share and what you want to talk about. And if there's any topics that you want us to talk about, please let us know. So
Mhm.
without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Last few weeks ago, we talked about physical abuse, Miss Romaine. We talked about sexual, we talked about emotional, we talked about psychological, we talked about the spiritual aspect of abuse. And today, one of the first ones we're going to talk about is the cultural abuse. Cultural abuse occurs an individual when an individual is harmed as a result of practices that are part of his or her culture, religion, or tradition. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness. I feel like, Sophia, there's so much that I can say about the cultural abuse. And it's even worse when it's in a marriage. It's even worse when it's in a relationship. Like, I mean, I want you to first tell me what you want to say about it, and then I'll just kind of piggyback and kind of share with you how I feel like that is one of the most dangerous things. Also, I think that's part of a lot of what happens to us in our childhood. I feel like it's all tied in. Anytime something becomes cultural, it becomes traditional. That is a very dangerous place to be. What would you like to say about that?
Yeah. So when I was in, it would be like middle school. When I was in middle school, I had friends who started developing, you know, and so their chests started getting big, like they were big girls. And so they told me how their mom slowed down their development was by hitting their chests, like laying in the bed, and she would
Oh my
take
God.
something, object, and she would beat on their chest, and that it was supposed to slow down their growth. And I got scared because if my friend's mom was doing it, I thought my mom was going to do it. And so I I like almost kind of put bigger clothes on just to hide my chest so my mom didn't notice to do that. But yeah, that apparently that's a cultural thing within some African nations. I went to school with um you know students that came from, they were first generation immigrants like me, but they're Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, all some of those African nations, that's a common practice with them.
Oh my goodness. I
Mhm.
have never heard of such thing.
Mhm.
That is unbelievable.
Mhm.
Unbelievable for them to lay down and beat their chest if it's growing.
If it's growing too much. Yeah, because
Oh,
they were developing pretty fast. And so that's torture. That's really a
that is straight abuse.
cultural physical abuse, right?
That is.
Mm-hmm.
That is. And this cannot fly like definitely today. I hope that no one is getting away with that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I hope that no one is getting away with that. For me, what I would like to say about that is I guess people that have to stay in abusive marriages. Um, and I've even seen women that weren't even married to a man, or a man who wasn't even married to a woman. They would stay in those abusive relationships because to them it was like, if you're my first, because of their cultural, wherever they come from, if you're my first, I have to stay with you. If I have a child with you, I have to stay with you, even though you're not treating me right. And then religion tells you that um, we're married, you become my pride and possession. I can treat you any type of way that I want to. You have to stay with me, and you can't leave, because if you leave, you're going to hell. And or if you divorce me, or if you do this, like, there's this, they so spiritualize and traditionalize everything, that you find a lot of abusive people staying in relationships and in marriages that are toxic and not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say about that?
I find it disturbing. Some cultures in the Middle East where the man is very dominating, the man pretty much has leeway to do anything they want. They can have as many wives as they want, some of those cultures. Um, but if a woman is caught cheating or whatever, caught, not being in line in her marriage, they can really stone her to death and get away with it. They can behead her and things like that. So it's like those male dominated chauvinistic type cultures, um, those are very disturbing to me.
Hmm. For a woman that's watching this video,
Mm-hmm.
and she's in a relationship where she feels loved in that relationship and that she has to stay, I mean, what advice would you give to someone who feels like, this is it for me? I have to stay. My mother stayed, so I have to stay. I mean, this is really serious. There are people really going through these things.
Mm-hmm.
They are in these relations, and I know even women that are in a relationship where the man refuses to marry them. There is no marriage. There's children involved. There is no marriage, but this woman feels so obligated. And I mean, I guess it's just so much that because I talk
It's
to
a
so
lot to
many people.
unpack. It is a lot to unpack. My advice is that there's a stigma that says you have to stay, and we need to get rid of that stigma. You don't have to stay. I'm Christian, and my belief system is that when you get married, you try everything to keep your family together. But even Jesus Christ gives you a situation where you can divorce that person. If they're not being faithful to you, if they are cheating, infidelity, those are situations that you don't have to stay. Now, and that's why the Bible is not really specific on like physical abuse, but for my advice is that a marriage, you're supposed to be an example. If you have children, you're supposed to be an example for your children. You're supposed to raise them in a healthy setting. And if you're in a relationship where your children are seeing you being abused, you are teaching them something.
Yes.
You are, when they grow up, you're either teaching them that they are going to say, I don't want this in my life because this is what I've seen and I don't, or this is all they know and that's what they'll do.
That's right. That's right.
So you don't have to stay in that type of relationship. If you don't want to completely divorce, separate. Just separate, give each other some time, go to counseling, work on yourself. That other person can work on themselves. And maybe down the line, if they're mentally healthy enough to rejoin, then you can do that. But there are options. You don't have to stay.
And especially if there's verbal and there's physical and there's children involved, children do not, now you, like if somebody's watching this, you may be saying, well, wait a minute, you're telling me that I don't have to stay and I need to separate. Well, yes, because it's one thing to be in a relationship with someone that is not respecting you and that is being unfaithful to you, but it's another thing when children are involved and there's verbal, which we'll be talking about. There's a verbal abuse and there's a physical abuse. You both are abusing each other verbally, and then you're physically abusing each other in front of the children. This is not healthy. And yes, like Sophia said, you are saying to your child, it's okay for someone to treat you this way. It's okay for a man to treat you this way. It's okay for a woman to treat you this way. And I think even too, like when your children know that mommy or daddy is not being faithful, or I don't want to just say it's just all men. So that's why I use both, because I may have men that are watching this as well. But if my child knows that mommy is crying every single day because daddy is not being faithful, women are calling and cursing out mommy, or men is calling, cursing out men, my child sees this, they'll think too when they grow up that it's okay.
And you know what? The DMX, the rapper, his son did a intervention with Iyanla.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that's one thing that he said he can't forgive his father for, because his father would cheat on his mother in front of him.
Yeah.
And that stayed in his mind. But for him, he took that and he made something positive out of it.
Wow.
He said, this is not what I'm going to do. He gave his life to Christ, and he learned some principles that he didn't, learn from his father. He learned it from his mother's side, but he said, this is not going to be this is not how I'm going to act. I'm not going to do this to my wife. But it was that traumatic for him that he remembered that. And he addressed it with his father later on in life.
Oh, wow. I did see after DMX died, there was this video was recorded way before he died, where him and his son, they kind of came together. His son had a lot of resentment towards him because his son felt like, yo, I needed you to be a role model for me, and you were not that role model. And so even though some children may not care about how mom has been treated or dad has been treated, but there are children that does care because they see you as their hero. And then when you act a certain way, that becomes very disappointing, very, very disappointing.
That's right.
What about in a relationship financial? What about, we talked about different strings that can happen in relationships and in marriages. What about the financial aspect of, and it says here, financial abuse occurs when someone controls an individual's financial resources without the person's consent and misuses those resources. Oh my gosh. I mean, I can speak on this. What do you have to say about that? When there's financial, and there is a lot, and a lot of it happens in our Haitian, our Haitian families. A lot of them happen everywhere, but I see it a lot with a lot of our Haitian women. What do you have to say about that?
Um, I experienced that in my first relationship. Um, it was, and I don't want to, I also want to take responsibility because I was the one that was giving the money. I had choices, I didn't have to. But yeah, it became a manipulation thing where, if you want to be with me in this relationship,
Mm,
pay for dinners and things like that. And I was dumb enough and I fell for it, but not too long. But it was just a stupid thing. Um, I experienced that before. It's not fun. Money come and goes. And the biggest thing you can walk away with it is just a lesson.
wow. I experienced it as well.
Mhm.
I think the thing that I don't like about it is that that person, you become fearful. You work hard just as well as that person works hard.
Mhm.
They use this mind game where they make you think that we're building together,
Mhm.
and you're not building together. It's just a way to control. And then you can't even, spoil yourself. You can't even take money out for yourself because they're wanting you to merge, the your money, but then you can't even spend your own money. You can't even take money out to, spend on yourself or to do something nice for yourself. In the moment that you do that, you get called all sorts of names, or it's just a long story, but these things do happen. We do have relationships where there is a man who is very controlling, or a woman who is very controlling.
Yeah.
And the woman, there's some women, and it's sad to say that, they have no respect for their spouse. They have no respect for the
Mhm.
person that they're with, and they treat that person as if that person owes them. I used to watch some movies where they'd be like, oh, I want the money, and they just talk to the guy all types of certain way, and it's all about the money. And then they brag to their friends, oh yeah, he gave me this, he gave me that, but you're not cooking, you're not doing anything that a real woman would love to even do for a man that is even willing to give his money. And you find men that say, yo, and I respect a man, and don't get me wrong, I love a man that says, honey, I'm the man. I'm your husband. I'm your man, and you deal with the finances. He's not too controlling, and she's not too controlling. There's just a good balance where they
Mhm.
have an agreement where you're stronger with balancing the money. You take control with the finances, and you delegate it where it needs to be delegated, and they work together as a team. But then it's different when the woman, the man is out there doing God knows what, doing what he wants to do. The woman can't touch the money, although she contributes and she puts her paycheck in the account, but she has to call every 5 minutes when she wants something for herself or for the kids. And I've seen this before. I've seen it before, and this is just unacceptable in a marriage.
Yeah, I agree with you. Or on the flip side, the man is working very hard. Maybe he has two jobs and she doesn't work. She says she doesn't work because she wants to take care of the kids, but the kids look homeless. She don't
Mm.
cook. She don't clean. The house is a mess. What are you doing? What, like, how is this
Girl,
a
look at my face.
partnership?
Look at my
But
face.
yeah, but she'll spend the money. She'll spend the money. She look good.
She look.
She got the latest
Oh
outfits, the
my
latest shoes,
God.
the latest everything. But your house is not in order and your children look homeless.
And your children are not in order.
Right.
OMG. And especially, the women that are taking child support money from men that they're not even with. I've seen this as well. It's like,
Yes.
oh, you have these children.
Hmm.
I've been a teacher for many years.
Hmm.
And And sometimes, unfortunately, teachers have to be in this whole battle when parents are splitting up. And then, you know, the child happens to be in your class, and then they have to sign this consent. And maybe when the child started the school year, the parents were together, but somewhere along the line before the school year was out, the parents are separated. And
Mhm.
so now the man is on child support. And so this woman is getting all this money for the child. And sometimes at the parent conferences, the teacher parent conferences, the dad will either tell me, yeah, Miss Chantel or Miss St. Claude, I have to pay all this money and and this and that. And then the child comes to school, hair is not done, barely packs a decent lunch and these things. And it's just like, and a lot of men are suffering from this because the woman is taking care of herself and the money is not, you really don't see where the money is going towards the children.
Yes,
Ah,
that's very unfortunate.
very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Neglect. So when we talk about neglect, neglect occurs when someone has the responsibility to provide care or assistance for an individual, but does not. And this all falls back and unhealthy marriages,
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy relationships, toxic relationships. Oftentimes, the marriage probably started off good. And before they got married, they're in their honeymoon stage and people are just lying to each other when they're dating. You really don't know the person. Boom, you get married, you're living with the person, you're with the person. And you don't even have to be married. You could be in a whole relationship, a committed relationship with someone, and they're just not being honest. And then there's the neglect of it all. And I've seen this where the man, like there's just some form of neglect where um I remember there's this woman
Mm-hmm.
that I know, right? She was a beautiful woman, and this man was very abusive towards her, very abusive. I think she had 5 children, I want to say, 1 girl, 4 boys with this guy, but this guy was very abusive and people knew it. People knew how abusive he was, but he was very neglectful towards his family. There would be times that her lights would be cut off and she would be in the dark. And I remember my mom would sometimes tell her to come over with the children to get them out of the dark. I think a few times my mom has helped financially, and I was a young teenager, and it hurt me so much because I saw a lot of neglect. I remember one time her car broke down, and he wouldn't come. He would curse her out instead, and she would have to find a way home and leave the car on the side of the road. And then the next day she would have to go to work, and then it was hard for her to get the kids to school. It was just really, really bad. She was in a really, really bad situation. And I kept thinking to myself, she's so beautiful. Like, but then when you have children with someone and you feel like it's the right thing to stay, or you're either scared to leave, and then you feel like, who's going to want me with all these children?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so you stay and you put up with the abuse, and then you're just crying and crying, and your children sees it. I mean, I wish a lot of the things could change for our culture. And unfortunately, I was raised in the Haitian culture. Although I'm Haitian American. I'm American here, but I was raised in a Haitian home and in a Haitian church. So I saw a lot of ways that Haitian people would put up with a lot of things. And I unfortunately became a victim of some of these ways, just
Mm-hmm.
simply by the way I saw my mother. You
Mm-hmm.
know, my mother put up with a lot. And so I did as well. And it hurt me in the long run. But today it has made me stronger. It has really made me stronger. Um, so yeah, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I know a couple who got married. They were so in love when they got married. And the neglect, I feel like the neglect happened when, he started picking up a lot of work, spending a lot of time at work. They had no kids. Throughout their whole marriage, they had no children. he was constantly working. And then the date nights, the time together just, disappeared. She's spending a lot of time with friends and her family because her husband's gone all the time. And when I say gone, he was working like working out of state, come home sometimes maybe on the like 2 or 3 days during the month, and then sleep. He would just sleep. They wouldn't really spend some time together. So it was like he, the purpose was for financial gain, but in the meantime, you lost a good woman.
Mhm.
So yeah, that falls under neglect to me. Chasing, not chasing, trying to meet a financial goal is not bad, but
Wow.
you want to keep a balance. That way your family don't go, on the back burner. And unfortunately, that situation dissolved. But that's how I see neglect. You can neglect your family in pursuit of something else. Just,
Oh,
I
wow.
would suggest just to keep a good balance of everything, you
Yeah.
know. Mhm.
It's wonderful. That's good. That's good to know how many ways that we can neglect, many ways that we can neglect our families, and many ways that you can make someone feel neglected.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's many ways, many ways. So, what would you like to kind of just add to um, let's talk a little bit because I'm really feeling that we should talk a little bit more in depth about relationships. And
Mhm.
last week, I did a video on mental, like when people have mental issues, and it was more geared to um, the youth, the young people, just knowing
Mhm.
who you are and loving yourself in Christ. And I just feel like there's a lot of things that happens in relationships that are overlooked, that are not talked about, and people don't really know how serious it is until it's too late,
Mhm.
until it's too late. So, um,
I
what
think a good example of that, and I can attach it to a current event, um, Kanye and Kim.
Mm,
Um, they got married, I believe in 2014. And from, they have a show, Me Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Certain
mhm,
things during that show, you could see certain controlling ways that he had.
mm,
Like he controlled what she wore. She was accepting of it because she thought it was a good gesture that he rearranged her whole closet.
mm,
Um, but certain aspects, um, and he is diagnosed with bipolar, and he had certain manic episodes throughout their marriage. For example, um, he announced to the world that he was going to move to Chicago, but she found out that information on social media. He built a house in Wyoming and wanted her to move, but she, it was just a lot of things,
mhm.
big things. And, the information he put out there about their first child, that they were going to abort it, the baby. Yeah. He said that when he made his announcement that he was going to run for president, that's something he put out there. And it terrified her because she didn't want anybody to know that. And
Oh
you're
my
saying
gosh.
it on TV, which means your daughter can see it later on. And so a lot of private details he's just putting out there. And it's just, she filed for divorce last year. She says that she's done with him. She don't want to be with him. He's a wonderful father. He's a good man, but she just couldn't stay with him dealing with his mental health issues, his episodes and his manic, bipolarness. She, especially when he didn't want to take his medication. You can only help someone so much. If you don't believe in medicine, but you're not doing counseling, you're not doing any of those other things. So recently, in the recent news about them, is just that he's been exposing text messages between him and Kim. He's been saying things like, accusing them of kidnapping the children, just manic stuff. And he says that he's fighting for his family. And I don't see anything wrong with a man trying to fight for his family, but it's how you're doing it. You're not in counseling. You have girlfriends. Kim moved on. She has a relationship. She's in another relationship with someone else. He had at least 3 girlfriends since they filed. You have girlfriends, but you want your family. And you're not doing anything productive to get it. But the things that he's posting online is like violent things. Like, it's just chaotic what he's doing right now. And there's a social activist named Sean King. He posted something on his Facebook, which I really agreed with. And it's pretty long. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it just gives you a timeline of how narcissists abuse and how they manipulate certain people. They use certain trigger words to manipulate the situation and just to get their way. He's trying to control her, but you can't control the next person. He purchased a house right across the street from her. And certain families do that. Like, if certain couples, when they split up, they still live close to each other so they can manage the children. But I don't think that I don't think that's what her intention was. I don't think she wanted him to live that close, but it's just a certain control about him. Before, when they were married, he never cared that his daughter was on social media.
I heard about this.
Yeah. So, but now he's making it a big deal that his daughter's on social media. I'm not a fan myself. I'm not a fan of children having their own social media accounts, just because of how many strangers out there that's lurking and everything. But that's my household. That is my household. Kim is someone who's rich. She's like a billionaire. So her daughter can have a social media account and it's monitored by security and things like that. I don't have the money or time for that. So yeah, but yeah, that's just another way of him trying to control it. He's posting memes of physical violence. And then he'll post it and delete it, and then post it and delete it, and he just won't stop. It's like, we don't know what she went through behind closed doors. But because they're not together no more, he's exposing it for the world to see. Imagine what she went through behind closed doors. And I am not a Kim Kardashian fan. Like, let me just put it out there, because I think her family did kind of a few grimy things, but she don't deserve that. She doesn't deserve what she's going through right now with him. And so That's the psychological abuse. That's just textbook definition of what that psychological abuse is.
Well, from what I know about Kanye, right,
Mhm,
West,
mhm,
I know that I believe from what, because it's all over social media right now. It's all over YouTube. Everyone's talking about it. I do feel sorry for him. I do not feel like because of his bipolar disorder, that, you know, that we should say it's because of this bipolar disorder that he has, that he's acting the way he is. Um, I believe they say he was 43 years old when he was diagnosed with it. And I just feel like this is a very serious thing. I do. I think that this can get very, very out of control if it's not control. I think a lot of times, like I was just saying, we dismiss the signs and we think that it's all fun and dandy. Now, I'm not a big fan of either one of them. I do like the song Jesus Walks. I think that was when he became very popular for me. I do like that one song, Jesus Walks with Me, whether or not he's a secular artist. I did like that song. Um, and so that's when I kind of found out a little bit about Kanye. But based on my understanding is that he has been diagnosed with bipolar. Alongside with being diagnosed with bipolar, I don't think that that's the whole reason why he should act the way he is. I do think that I do think that if he gets help, he can be helped. But because he doesn't want the help and he's only doing it the best way he knows how, to get his family. And there's, like you said, there's nothing wrong with trying to fight for your family, but it's how you're going about to doing it. I think he needs to be very careful. And I think he needs to get that help. And I'm not sure, and I don't know if you know this, who are around him, like who's the people that are around him that are helping him, because I believe there is a post that he put up where he's apologizing to people. Hey, I don't have all of this right. I'm trying. I'm not a perfect communicator. I'm trying. I want to be good at what I think I want to hear his heart and feel his heart. But I'm wondering as well, who are the people that he's allowing in? Is he allowing anyone in? Because most of the time when you have people with this disorder, and on top of that, they're controlling, they have this narcissistic thing about them. The
mhm.
first thing they do is they isolate from everyone and they don't allow anyone in their circle because they don't want anyone to tell them that what they're doing is wrong and they don't want
Exactly.
shed any light. Do you
Exactly.
know or have you heard of anyone that may be helping him? Because I know the only person I know that he used to be close with is Jay-Z. And I don't know if they're even still in cahoots with each other. I mean, do you know what's going
I
on with that?
I don't know if they're still close um with that Jay-Z and Beyonce. I don't know if they're still close. I know he has good relationships with his family, like his immediate family.
Mhm.
Um and but I think even when you have family and friends around you, I think when you get into a level of certain influence, when you have everything that you want as far as money and everything, with the snap of a hand, it can be in your hands. I think it doesn't even matter if you have family around. You know, if they're not saying what you want to hear, they
Mm,
disappear. And I seen that, I mean, I didn't see it firsthand, but even when Michael Jackson died and his family or was giving interviews, they said they tried to do an intervention. Michael refused to see his family, his own family. Your family, before the money and everything, they know you. They know you, and their love should be pure love for you, unconditional. And they want to see you in a good space. They want the best for you. And so it would be family to reach out to you to try to help you. But if you know what their objective is and you're not ready for it, you're not gonna hear what they gotta say.
You're not gonna receive it. You're not gonna
Mhm.
receive it. And so, and it becomes very dangerous, especially when you're posting on social media, what you want to do to the boyfriend or whoever she's dating, your coulda, shoulda, wouldas. There's a lot of things when you post them on social media, you can't take them back. I can only
Mhm.
imagine right now he's going crazy. He doesn't know what to do. He's wanting his family, and then just the thought of another man being in that space with your children. She's simply saying that she doesn't want you. But I think at the same time, um, we have to, there's so much we can say about relationships and just being careful who we get intertwined with and
Right.
that just being careful. I'm wondering, have Kim ever seen the signs even before? Because I think part of the reason why she left Kanye, right, was because she she didn't like the control. And I don't know if the control was coming because he was trying to grow closer, because it's been a few years now. We've been hearing that Kanye West loves God. Even a lot of Christian content creators are talking a lot about Kanye West and the love that he has for Christ, and how he really wants he really wants to have a relationship with God, but because of what he does and the industry that he's in, and not to say that someone in that industry can't acknowledge God, because we're not with these people every day. But I don't know if the reason why was controlling her was because he's like, hey, I don't want my wife dressing like this anymore, because he married her this way. He found her this way. You knew that she was this beautiful woman, the backside and the hair, the dark hair and everything, and the revealing clothes. That's what you went for. That's what you married. And I'm wondering, did she ever see any signs prior to that? I mean, or do you find out your husband has this mental disorder, this mental illness? Now you're saying, oh, I don't want to be with you anymore. But I mean, where is I don't know. Maybe you might know a little bit more about it. I mean, is it, I mean, controlling, did you not see? And let me tell you something. We see the signs before
Mhm.
we get with someone.
Mhm.
We see them. We see them, we choose to ignore them. I don't know if the mental aspect is there, but the controlling aspect definitely. And like I said, I don't know if it's because he wanted to change and shift, or was he always controlling from the beginning?
You can Everything now is hindsight, right? So from she can answer that. I can't. But what I can do is watch the earlier episodes of Keeping Up
Your
with the
relationship.
Kardashians, and then that's how you see the red flags. Did she see it in other instances? Probably, but love is blind, or she probably ignored the red flags. I think that because they're so high profile, they're celebrities, things like that. A lot of people have their opinions. A lot of people's watching, especially now that they're putting their information out there. But if they were regular people, if this was no name people, then this would be scary for
Mm,
a regular person, because a
mm,
regular person probably don't have the means to hire security to protect themselves. If
mhm,
a regular woman dating a man or married a man, they have X amount of children, and the woman decides she don't want to be in this relationship anymore for X, Y, and Z.
mm.
And she probably tried many years to rectify the situation, but if counseling is not taking place, if medication's not being taken or
Mm.
things like that, it's hard to
It
accept.
is.
And when someone's manic, I'm a nurse, and I've been in situations where patients have mental health episodes. Um, and if that's your spouse and you have children with that person, it is tough to trust them, not because you think they will hurt the child intentionally, but they're not in a safe space mentally. And if they are not, you're putting the children in harm's way. So if this was like a regular woman and her husband was going through this, she separates from her husband, he's having girlfriends, I'm having a boyfriend, and the way that everything's being done, like what Kanye is doing towards Kim, it would be scary. It would be scary because you cannot control someone. You can't control the next person. You can only control yourself. Even if you have the perfect marriage and your husband or your wife said, you know what, this is the end of the road for me. It's going to be devastating for you because you think everything is perfect.
Wow.
But if that's the decision he makes in his head, that he don't want to be with you, you can't control him to stay. So this is where, you can't control him to stay or her to stay. So this is where it becomes scary because you're not respecting what she's saying. She says she don't want to be with you. She has moved on. She filed for divorce. He's been through 3 lawyers now because he refused to let the divorce go. And, you know, his passion for his family is very honorable because you don't see it, especially Black men. You don't see that. So, but the way he's going about it is wrong. Toxic.
It is.
And it's scary.
It is.
Yeah. And there's millions of women who go through the same thing, but their voices are not heard because they're Kim Kardashian.
That's beautiful. I totally agree with you 100%. It reminds me of 2 different stories about these 2 different men that committed suicide. They killed the women. There was one guy who killed one baby mama, then went to go kill the other baby mother.
I saw that.
And then killed himself.
Yes.
And then there is, well, I don't know if we could use that word on YouTube, but he got rid of one baby mama, hurt another baby mother, took her life, and then took his own life. And then there was another guy who took his baby mother's life, and he said he had mental illness. His baby was there. I don't know if you saw that one. And he was recording and he was telling the cops, come in, come take my child. Come and take my child because I just eliminated the mom and I'm going to eliminate myself. Please come in and take my child. I don't want to do it to my child, but I'm going to do it to myself. And I need you to come in and take my child. And they were watching this like live. And so I just keep thinking, like, did anyone not see the signs first? Like, did anyone not know or could even tell? So I understand what you're saying. And I do think that Kim needs to be a little bit more cautious, especially now that he has purchased a home right across the street. He's posting these things. He's literally losing his mind on top of the mental illness that he has. And at this point, he's liable to do anything. He's liable to do anything. And I'm hoping that something is done before it's too late.
Exactly.
I'm hoping that something is done before it is too late. When someone, just like they say, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. When someone threatens your life, believe it.
Right.
Believe it. I mean, because even if they say, I'm just playing, I was just upset, listen, do not take the chance. I remember I was asked many years ago to sing at a funeral of a young lady who lived in your state, in your city. She was a Haitian girl. She was beautiful. She was in an abusive relationship. Her husband was, I want to say, a correction officer. And she had the guts one day to leave. She had 2 children. And I don't know, you may have heard about this. She had 2 children with her husband. She decided that she was going to pack up her stuff and she was going to leave. She went to her mom's house. The husband was like, I love you. I miss you. I want you and my children to come back. I believe she was also pregnant with her 3rd child. And she believed him and she went back. Well, within days after going back, he shot her and then he shot himself in front of the children. You know, he eliminated his life, eliminated the woman's life in front of the children. The son, who was the oldest, was the one to call the cops and they came. I had to sing at this woman's funeral. I had to sing at her funeral. She was in an abusive relationship, and it was after the fact her friends and family were saying that this man had promised her that he was going to do this to her. And so from the time that she left, she should have never came back. And at that point, you never even know, even if she never did come back, if she's going to the grocery stores or whatever she may be doing and nobody's around, he could have still probably attacked her, especially if he knew that she was living at mom's house. These things are super serious. Like, Sophia, this thing is scary and it's serious. And I think that Kanye needs to get help. I think that it's unfortunate that he's losing his family and she doesn't want him anymore. And she's like, it's over. There's nothing wrong with him fighting for his family. It is his family. However, it's the way you do it.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, even if you did it the right way, if the person says no, no is no, because at the end, you're the one that's going to suffer. She's not going to be able to love you and she won't love you the way you want to be loved. And so, yeah. So much to be said. I think people, we need to just be careful. We need to be careful who we get in relationships with. We also need to be careful the people that we do get in relationships with, if they, anybody, it could be family member, friends, if they have mental issues, try to seek some help for them. Be that friend, be that supporter. And then if you are friends with someone who seems to be a narcissist or someone who's controlling and would like to resolve things by doing violence, report it or intervene some way, somehow, because we don't want to lose anyone. We don't want the violence. You know, there are different ways that we can solve issues. There are different ways that we can solve issues. So, Sophia, before we end, let's talk about the church. And we are Christians, and we believe in God. I believe in God, and I was raised in church all my life, and you too were raised in church all your life. And what happens when these relationships are happening in the church, when these toxic relationships are in the church, and it seems as if our leaders are not handling it the right way? I just felt to ask you that while we're on this subject. And I mean, have you seen it where, because I feel like now the church has lost, they're not standing for truth. And we're finding a lot of leaders who are afraid to approach hard situations, and they're afraid to be truthful. They're afraid to give couples the proper help that they want. So now you find a lot of people that may be in the church that may be going through these things. They don't want to consult with leaders in the church anymore or their pastors, because there is no justice anymore in the church. There is no justice. And it's just like, it's either the pastor takes the woman's side or the pastor takes the man's side, or the pastor don't approach it at all.
Hmm.
Don't approach it at all. I've known pastors that knew that someone's spouse was cheating on them.
Hmm.
And the pastor disregarded it completely and said, I'm not touching this. They didn't want to touch it. These pastors, they don't want to touch these anymore. They could know that the woman is being physically abused by their husband. The pastor would tell them, fix your problems. I'm not getting in the midst of that. And then you find that something happens to this church member, and still at the end of the day, they're preaching on the pulpit that you need to stay in that marriage. What do you have to say about that, Sophia?
I think growing up, there was one situation, a couple in our church. It was a physical, like he was beating her. And this was a couple going to our church. The man was, in ministry, and at home he was beating his wife. And when my pastor at that time, when he learned about it, he was counseling them. But when he saw that the man didn't really follow his counsel, it was the woman who continued going to church. He stopped going to church. She kept going to church. The abuse continued. He told her that she needs to leave. My pastor at that time, I feel like he did the right thing. He told her to leave, take your children, go ahead and leave. And she moved in with another church member. They gave her a room for her and her children. And so they moved to Florida, because this was up north, and they moved to Florida. She kept going back together with him. The abuse continued. And so we all went, it's like the Haitian community is real small, right? So when they moved down to Florida, we continue going to the same church with this family. And she would leave because the pastor would tell her, the pastor in Florida also told her to leave. And she moved in with a church member, and her kids moved in with my family. So I seen it firsthand, like with this.
Wow.
Eventually, she just divorced him. She went ahead and she divorced him. But that was like the only example as far as physical abuse in the church, in the Haitian church, that and both pastors did the right thing. They told her to separate from him.
Wow. That's good. That's good that, she was able to get that help and that advice. I don't ever think it's okay for Christian people to stay in relationships that are hurtful. Verbal abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, all of the abuse. Because I've been through that, it hits me differently, and there's a special place in my heart where I don't have any space or tolerance for it, and I'm just so totally against it. And so after going through physical abuse and then going through emotional abuse, I realized that all abuse is abuse.
Right.
If it doesn't make you feel good, if it doesn't make you feel good, if it's not to help you grow, and it's belittling you, it is weakening you, it is hurting you, causing anxiety, causing mental illness. I've seen women that has been so abused in their marriage that they literally went crazy.
Wow.
They've gone crazy. I just feel like this is a very touchy topic. I feel like I believe in counseling.
Me too.
I do believe in counseling. I think that counseling is important. It's good to talk. it's good to let it out with someone that's not going to be biased, someone that's going to hear you. It works. It's therapeutic.
Mhm.
I was saying this yesterday at work. At work, I do. I, I'm over this. Well, I'm part of this program at work, where in that program I'm over a little committee called Protect Your Peace, and I am the one that leads that for the whole campus at where I work at.
Mhm.
And I was telling them yesterday that, you know, you may think that counseling is not important. You may think that it's, oh, it's crazy. I'm not going to sit and talk to someone. I don't need therapy. I don't need, yes, you do. It's good to talk. And you'll be surprised that when you talk, how much you can heal. And
Mhm.
so I encourage people, don't think that you're crazy. And just because you get counseling or therapy, it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. There are perfect, healthy people mentally that
Mhm.
still needs to have therapy or someone to talk to. I know that you did that at one time, Sophia. Tell me how that experience was for you and how old were you when you did it?
When I started counseling, it was after because I was in a relationship, I was engaged, and it broke up. And I was really in a dark place when that relationship broke up. So I started counseling. And it was just a bad time period. I was working at a company doing a corporate accounting. It was in that time where financial like the economy was going down. It was at the end of Bush's term, but Obama was about to be president. And so at that time, I got laid off. My engagement got called off. I was just in a bad timing. It was a bad time for me. So I started counseling then. And I was able to open up about that relationship. Started the healing process from that relationship. And then with that, I started exploring other areas in my life where I felt like I need counseling. I still do counseling, and it is not a bad thing. And I think that it just has a negative stigma in our community. Um, but I think because I see the Haitian, our generation Haitians is accepting of
Yeah.
counseling. It's being more accepted. I talk about it, and I suggest it a lot to like family and friends.
Oh my gosh, yes. I did counseling a few times actually, and both times was because I was leaving a bad relationship. And so I did take counseling. I think that it was really, really good. It was much needed. It was very therapeutic. And through the counseling, I had realized that a lot of the things that I accepted and allowed in my relationship, it came from some childhood stuff,
Mhm.
from stuff that I saw as a child. And so it helped me. And so I am totally not against counseling. I'm definitely for counseling. I encourage, especially where I work at now, we have lots of counselors there. Um, we have lots of therapists there. I totally, totally am for counseling, and I would recommend it to anyone, even if you don't feel like, like I said, like you said, it has a bad stigma to it. It doesn't mean that you're crazy, and it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It's
Mhm.
good to talk. It's therapeutic. It's a
Mhm.
good way to talk. It's a healthy way to talk to someone who is not biased, to someone who will listen,
Mhm.
and then just to kind of get it out and to kind of help you. Some people, they may have good friends, and I want to say this, and then I'll let you end off, Miss Sophia, with whatever you would like for the people to know. But I've met people that um, They have amazing friends and they have amazing family and they have amazing spouses and they have people that can give them good advice and that's willing to listen to them. But for whatever reason, because you know that person or that person know that person, they don't take heed to it. They won't listen to that person. It's like, well, yeah, they'll agree with you, but they're not going to take any advice that you have to say. They may say, yes, they do. They're not going to take it because they simply know you. They
Yes.
simply know you. But the
Mhm.
moment a stranger tell you something,
Mhm.
you're so quick to take it. You're so quick to
Mhm.
receive it. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so I feel like this happens a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's why I encourage people, if you feel like you need to talk and you don't usually agree with what anybody has to say, you may say yes to your friend, you may say yes to your spouse, you may say yes, to a family member. But at the end of the day, you're that type of person that you say yes, and then you just you don't take heed to it. You still in the back of your mind was like, I need to talk to somebody else. Let me call somebody else. Then you need a therapist. You need somebody else to talk to.
Exactly. And that's the perfect reason why to see a therapist. It's somebody you don't know. They're
Exactly.
neutral. They're just going to give you their professional opinion, their
Exactly.
professional advice, and it's to benefit you because
Yes.
a therapist wants to see you, reach your goals as far as your mental health. So it's if you, call family and they might have an opinion um, that you don't like, and if you don't like it, just see a therapist. They have to abide by HIPAA laws. That means they're not going to call the next family member and tell them, hey,
Exactly. Yep.
this so and so just told me this and things like that. It's not going to become a gossip thing. I can relate to you as far as a family member. You give them. I have a cousin. Give them good advice. It goes one ear out the other. They do their own thing anyway. And then
Anyway,
when they don't get the results that they were looking for, that's when they said, I should have just listened to you. Yeah. With the same song. So it's like, yeah, but it's a perfect reason why to go see a counselor. They
it's a
remain neutral. Mm-hmm.
yes, they remain neutral. Yes. Well, you know what, Sophia, it has always been a pleasure to talk to you. It's always been a pleasure to talk to you. Before
Likewise.
we get off, I'm sure we're gonna do this again
Mhm.
and probably again and again
Mhm.
and again and again.
Mhm.
Because I do want to just continue talking about relationships, definitely talking about mental health, because this is on the rise right now. And it
Mhm.
seems like it's gotten worse since the pandemic has started. It
Mhm.
seems like people are literally losing it. People are literally losing it. There's just a lot going on, more than we can even imagine, more that we don't even know about, excuse me, or hear about. There's just a lot going on. And the profession that I work in behavioral and mental health center. And you as a nurse, I'm sure there's a lot more that we can talk about and share with the people. And then especially to our Christian people, especially our people of God, like, because believe it or not, it's on the rise for our people of God. It's on the rise for our believers. There is just a lot going on, especially with the doors of the church, of most churches being closed. There's just a lot. People losing their jobs, the church doors being closed. People are not involved as much as they used to be. People that the church was their whole life, and that's where they found their being. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, they can't go, and they can't go to rehearsals, and they can't go to Bible study, and they can't do this and can't do that, and everything is now behind the screens. Um, I just feel like there's so much that we can talk about to help other people, to just kind of help them, encourage them, and to what's going on and how they can go around it and how they can get the help that they need other than God. I mean, and I know some people might be watching this and say, well, God is my counselor. and I don't need to go seek professional help, and I don't need to do this. Well, you know what? All I can say to you is that do whatever makes you feel good, do whatever you feel is best for you. But I will not be so Christian or so saved or so religious or so holier than thou that I can't talk to someone else. And if you want, you just get Christian counseling, because both of my counseling, both times, I think I've had counseling several times, but the two that I really that connect with me were my two Christian counseling. And I've always done Christian counseling. And I remember their names and I always do Christian counseling, and it's really good for you to get help some way. If prayer is what you do, then so be it. If you just want to fast to connect with God, that's fine. But what we're saying is that if there are some issues, whether it's physical, mental, psychological, whatever type of abuse it is, get some help, please. Get some help, please. Do not be a victim to anything or anyone. Your
That
life
goes
is
back,
precious.
right. That
You
goes
are,
back to what I said in part one. Say
yeah,
something. If you
say
need help, say something.
that's
Say,
right.
speak up, and help will be there. And God is the most high. Okay.
Amen.
Um, however, he has given his children the wisdom to help you get through where
Amen.
you can't get there. And
Amen.
so let's not be ignorant of that. um God is the most high. Once you go halfway, he'll come and meet you halfway. So
Amen.
let's do that. Let's meet God halfway and not expect God to, do. He is the most high, but like I said, he gives certain people wisdom to help you get through this.
Yay. Thank you, Miss Sophia. You were wonderful. I just love you, girl. I love you. I mean, like every day, you're just growing on me. Oh my God. So much. Thank you for taking this time to be with Unchained Faith tonight, to share. We shall do this again and
Yeah.
again and again. I appreciate you so much. And if you are a woman, you need to talk, or you need to reach out to me, or you have a topic that you would like for either Sophia and I to talk about, or just myself to talk about, please don't be afraid to share with me and reach out to me. And I'll be more than happy to do that for you. Thank you once again, Sophia. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we close out?
I love you too. Thank you so much
Yay.
for inviting me. I love talking about these topics. And if anyone would like to reach out to me, my social media, my name is Sophia Romaine on Facebook, and on social media it's like the @ Haitian Redbone. And that's where you
Yay.
can send me a message, or you can just reach out to me via Facebook, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, you already know how I do it over here. Remember that I love you, but God loves you.
More. Mwah.
Bye.